Hello, welcome to Waters Ironworks. This is Philip, and I am here to show you guys a little present that I got for the winter holidays from Blacksmith Depot. I got a gift card and decided to spend it on a set of Vise Spacers for my leg vise. So let's open this up and take a look. I'll give you guys my initial impression and we'll see how they work. Being extremely safe there by pulling the knife toward me. Just going to rip this open. All right, let's see what we've got. Very exciting. They all come together in a little set like this. We've got 1 inch, 5/8, 3/4. Let's try and put these in order here. Half. Something smaller and something even smaller. There's a 1/4 inch. What is this one? 3/8 of an inch. And the great thing about these was they were pretty cheap. Looking at the receipt here, 35 bucks for the full set. So obviously something that you can make yourself, and I think we might try making one, but it's hard to beat $35 from a time perspective. It would certainly probably take me more than $35 worth of my time in order to make a full set like this, and they might not be as nice, but these are great. So let me show you guys the way these work and what they're used for. So this is a piece of steel that I commonly work with here. 1/2 inch piece of steel right there. So if you're over here, you're working on your vise, you go to put your piece of steel in and you clamp it. What happens is that you've got it secured on this side, but the vise is loose on the other side, and you can get racking where the jaws aren't closing squarely, and it's not going to hold the pieces securely. This set allows you to drop it in on the far side. Shoulders keep it in there even if it's a little open. And then my vise apparently does not close very well, probably because the spacers haven't been used in the past. But the idea is that now you've got it and it's holding everything securely, although this is an old vise and I will need to figure out why it is not closing perfectly square. So how could we make these if we wanted to make our own? These look like they're cut out of a larger piece of steel on a CNC machine or something like that probably. But we don't have a CNC machine. So how can we do it ourselves? I'm going to make one of these 1/2 inch pieces. So let's set this down. So if we're going to make a 1/2 inch, we've got a couple steps that it looks like we need to do, and it's really not too hard. We need something that's an appropriate size, so we'll cut this down a little bit. I'm also going to put a cut down the middle of it and then spread those out so that I've got these so that it'll hang in the jaw. So let's do that. We're going to come over here. We'll use the one that we've got. Let's drop that a little deeper in. Grab my angle grinder here. You could obviously do this with a bandsaw or even a hot cut if you wanted to. Angle grinder will probably be the fastest. Put on a face mask here. I'm just going to try and cut this down the middle. You can see my vise definitely doesn't square up very nicely as the vise spacer dropped out of the other side. Alright, let's open this up. Drop everything on the ground. This is likely hot. Actually, I can feel it's warm, so I'm going to quench it so I don't... Actually, I'm just going to toss it in the forge. I also did not get it super straight. I don't think that's going to be a big deal, although it would certainly look nicer if it was straight. So let's get the forge going. And it'll take a couple minutes for this to heat up, so let's let it heat up and I'll be right back with you. It looks like we're good and hot, so I think I'm going to spread this by using a hot cut here. Grab it out of the forge, drop our cut down over the edge, hammer that to spread it out a little bit. Ooh, almost killed my cameraman. Flip it over. I think I'm going to grab a different set of tongs. Let's heat this back up. All right, looks like we're hot. Let's grab that. Try and hold it a little more securely here. You know what? Let's take this actually and drop it in the vise. Clamp down on it. Go. We can actually straighten this if I can grab it with the vise itself. To some degree. It's still a little oddly shaped there. I'm going to heat it up one more time and see if I can straighten that out a little bit more. We've got this hot again. Let's see if we can straighten it out a little bit. So I'm actually going to come over to the quench tank here. I'm going to quench off these edges just so I don't damage them. Grab my hammer. This is curved a little bit. I really should have straightened it before I quenched it, but it's pretty thin steel. That's looking pretty good. I'm just going to straighten out this other side just a smidge. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and quench this off. Now it is a little long. You can see our comparison piece here ends right there. that looks like a reasonable length to me. So we'll grab a piece of chalk. Put a mark there. And you know what? We'll go ahead and do this hot for everyone. So I do like coming in. Actually, hold this with a pair of tongs. And I'm just going to put a mark in it right there on the back side so that I've got something I can find when it comes out of the fire. Actually, I wonder if it'd be easier probably to hit it this way. There we go. We've got a good mark. Let's put it in. Obviously now quenching it just to reheat it up, a little bit silly, but first time making these, tend to not be as efficient as you possibly could be on the first time doing something. We've got this hot. Let's grab it. Grab my hot cut again. Find that mark. I'm just going to cut all the way through. And I'm pretty close there. So I'm going to grab another pair of tongs. Break it off. Toss this hot end into the quench tub. And obviously we've got a fair bit of a shoulder there. We could take a file to that and file it off. I think what I might actually try though is, you know what? I was going to say I was going to upset it back into itself. I think I'm not going to do that. I want this to remain the original ½ inch that it is. So rather than upsetting it, which is going to change all the dimensions here, I'm going to come in with a file and just file that a little bit. See, doing this file work hot, it goes pretty quick. Always like to come in on the edges, knock them off a little bit, just to make sure there aren't any burrs or anything that are going to cut me in the future. You can see I didn't take that completely flat, but I think it's probably good enough. So let's grab it. Let's quench it for real this time. Just going to look and make sure it looks flat here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We'll do one last step. Got a set of letter and number stamps here. These things are great. The trick with these is to hit with conviction. You also see it's got some rifling there, so you can make sure you're holding it the right way up. So there's a 1. Let's try not to flip this over when we do it. This is the side that's a little less well supported. Flying onto the ground. Well, we can make out a 2. So there you go. The spacers from Blacksmith Depot, and a quickly made homemade one. I will say these look a lot more professional. The nice thing about this homemade one though is, since I made it out of 1/2-inch stock, it's going to be 1/2-inch all the way around, although I might have upset it a little bit in there. I'll come back in after this and just make sure that really is a 1/2-inch. So this one will be able to drop either direction, although I guess you don't really need it to be able to drop this direction. So maybe the Blacksmith Depot ones are just as good. But if you've got a post vise, which is an essential tool for the blacksmith, I would highly recommend that you get a set of these spacers. They will make all the work that you're doing a lot more secure in the vise, and you don't want hot metal flying around the shop as much as you can avoid it anyway. So thanks so much for this unboxing video. Again, $35 off Blacksmith Depot. It's a hard deal to beat. Thanks.